Damien, how are you, man?
I'm going well. Really good.
Excellent. What's been happening this morning?
So this morning, I actually...
no, it's afternoon, so today.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, this afternoon. I've just been catching up on office work today.
Yep.
Friday, office day.
Nice. And you've chosen a beautiful day to do some office work?
Yeah, we've got Melbourne weather again.
We were just chatting about this, that it's like, today was well, not sunny, but like it was nice outside, and now, it started pouring down rain.
20 degrees this morning.
Yeah. But that's all good. What's got you excited in life right now?
So there's so much to be excited about in life, but at the moment, just planning moving house. Got Heal Your Life teacher training coming up. We've got, it's almost the end of the year.
Yeah. This
year has been a year full of firsts, planning a wedding, buying a house, moving. It's crazy. It's good. There's a lot going on, you know.
So the wedding's coming up?
The wedding is November next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But obviously you plan in advance, and then everything else happening as well.
Everything happening. So, yeah, it's cool. It's good.
Super exciting. So we only connected maybe a week ago on Instagram.
Yeah, maybe even if that.
Yeah, we were talking about this before through Claire. Thank you, Claire.
Yeah.
And for me, it was straight away. I looked at your profile and then seen what you do and looked through the post, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to meet this person, but then also I'm in Melbourne. I'm looking for interviews for the podcast. Yeah, get you on. And as you've shared a little bit before about your story, it's just like, oh man, I can't wait to get stuck into this. So for myself and for the listeners that don't know too much about you, can you give us a wrap up of your life from start to where you are now and everything that you're doing?
So currently right now, I'm the Australian Heal Your Life teacher trainer and coach trainer for Louise Hay Heal Your Life workshops. But there's really, if you think about it, there's 3 pivotal points in life that have really brought me to that moment. It was not like I woke up one day and went, I'm going to become the teacher trainer for Heal Your Life, and that's what I'm going to do. We talked a bit about this before, that when I was about 11 years old, my mum got diagnosed with a condition called fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia simply means muscle pain. Doctors at the time didn't know what to do with it. Really wasn't a condition at the time either. It was quite a new thing that was on the market. And they just
on the market, yes.
On the medical market. They didn't really know what to do with that kind of diagnosis. So it was just, here's some painkillers, here's some antidepressants. You're not going to die from it. There's just pain in your body. We don't know what to do. So go home, live with it. You'll probably get to a point where you end up in a wheelchair, and that'll be it.
Yep.
It's like, an easier way to explain it is, it's like having multiple sclerosis. Your muscles will waste away, but you won't die. That was the diagnosis she was given. So what do you do with that? There's not a lot you can do other than going, well,
this is going to happen inevitably. Yeah.
The medical fraternity don't have an answer for me, so now I have to try something alternative. So she tried chiropractors, massage therapists, and eventually got onto a really good naturopath. And the naturopath started to move things in her body. But as a part of that journey, they lost their business. My mum's moods became really high and really low, and a lot of anxiety and fear started to play into things. They were at a point where they had to, unfortunately, remortgage the house. And my dad, credit to him, he's such a strong person. He stuck with her the entire way through it. But eventually, she was handed a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And by Louise Hay. So it was handed You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and it kind of talks about how our emotions affect our health, but also how what we think about ourselves and about life is what becomes true for us. And so it started a journey with her to looking at what she thought and what she felt. And, there were certain parts in the book that were a bit inflammatory for her. She already had an inflamed body condition, so add something else in there that's going to tip you emotionally over the edge. You're going to throw the book in the corner and go, well, that's probably got some truth to it, but I don't want to believe it. And so she put it down and I picked it up. And I was about 11 years old at this time. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. If you can change your thinking, you can change your reality. And all you have to do is love yourself. But surely it can't be that easy. So I kind of held on to that idea. And because I saw my mum's health change through her own experiences of going to a naturopath, I became interested in health and nutrition. And as I grew into my later teen years, I started to develop really severe acne. Because of that, I started to look into studying for my own health because I wanted to fix it. So I started looking into nutrition and massage and became qualified as a kinesiologist, which then led me into the later journey of my life where I kind of held on to that philosophy of Louise and the philosophies in You Can Heal Your Life, and I was using those in kinesiology. But living in the country, I felt really restricted by what I was doing, and my skin still hadn't cleared up. So if I was treating people and they were coming to me and I had really bad, severe acne, I had this feeling or this idea of, well, if I'm supposed to be fixing people, which we can't fix anybody, and they're looking at my skin, then they're not going to believe that I can help them.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine told me about this company that works in skincare, which is called DMK, which is an amazing skincare range. But what they do is they work with the skin. So it matched my whole philosophy of working with the body rather than treating it as a disorder.
Yeah.
So long story short, I came to Melbourne, did their training. They offered me a position to go and work for them as an account manager for Vic, Tas and South Australia. So I took the role at 21, and that's kind of what brought me to the city from the country life. And I just got to the point where I couldn't handle the amount of stress that was involved in working in a corporate job. I was young, I didn't know what it was like in the big city, and so they kind of like, well, we're going to have to let you go. And that was devastating. So that's kind of like point number 2, like turning point number 2, where they said, we're going to have to let you go. I didn't have any savings. I'd maxed out my credit card, working for them, traveling all around the place. I got 2 weeks payout, had no leave, and rent was due in like 3 weeks' time. I had 2 options. Could go home to my parents, back to the country, and I felt as though I'd be admitting defeat, and pride got in the way, so I didn't tell anybody what I was going through. And because of that, it started to send me into this deep spiral of anxiety and depression and just basic fear of how am I going to get through life. And, I had the bank calling me, telling me I needed to pay the credit card, and I was literally a couple of days away from now being homeless. And so that was kind of turning point number 2, where I decided that I had to let my pride go. And it was the moment that I was standing in line to get a $20 Coles gift card from the, community services. So I was kind of like, I've got no money. This is all I can do. Getting a $20 Coles gift card. What in the fuck has my life come to? How did I get to such a low point in just 2 years?
Yeah.
So, 23 years old, about to become homeless, sick to the bottom of my stomach with fear and anxiety and feeling depressed. And I thought, I need to do something about this. So I found a job selling oranges at a fruit shop and talking in a microphone. You know how you see the spruikers in the street? Because it was like, I need to do something or otherwise that's it. I'm done. Yeah. And it was those moments, though, where I'd contemplated how could I end my life in the easiest possible way that wouldn't affect anybody else. And that's not a way to live. And I know that I'm not the only person that's ever been in that position. And because I'm not the only person that's ever been in that position, that means there's an answer out there. Somebody else has gone through it. And that's when I turned back to picking up You Can Heal Your Life. And, you know, it was like, if you just love yourself, then everything else in life falls into place. That was really inflammatory to read at that stage. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure I love myself, but I hate my situation.
Yeah.
And that kind of then started that journey again, and I started using affirmations. So I started saying to myself, you know, all is well, so it is. Even though I don't know what I'm doing right now, I know everything's going to fall into place. And within a few short weeks, I started to change my life around. I ended up going and working for another skincare company, who I won't name, just because they're not very eco-friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
But I took what I had to do.
Yep.
You know, I did what I had to do, and I think that's something that, as people, and as a person going through something in our life, sometimes we're not willing to do what we need to do in order to get where we want to go.
Yeah. It's easier not to.
It's easier not to, or it's easier to stay where we are and stay stuck and fight for our limitation. And we'll come up with all the reasons of why we can't do something rather than the reasons of why we can do something. And so then I was like, okay, I'm done with skincare at this point. I'm done working in this industry because I'd moved into a retail role and I hated it. But I did what I had to do. So I was like, right, I think probably it's about time I learn a little bit about money. Because I wasn't managing it well. I still had, you know, debt collectors calling me and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, right, clearly I have a problem with money. So I need to work on that. So I actually went and started working for a banking institution. And then from there went and worked for a financial advisory firm. And during that time, I was able to learn about investing my own money, about even just the basics of budgeting and learning how to not necessarily stay within my means, but manage my means.
Yep.
And so that was a really good period of my life where I was able to start to feel as though I started to get control back. But I was burnt out again. I was in the corporate world, going and sitting in a cubicle, doing a job that I didn't like for somebody that I didn't like, and feeling stressed. Why? Who was that benefiting? It wasn't benefiting me. It wasn't benefiting the company I was working for because I wasn't putting my best self into it, and it wasn't benefiting the person that I was working for either, because we were butting heads because we couldn't see eye to eye. So that was turning point number 3, where I literally came home one day and I thought, I remember seeing in one of the conscious magazines that you see in the health food shop an advertisement for You Can Heal Your Life workshops. And that would have been probably when I was about 18-year-old studying kinesiology. And at that time in my life, you know, when I was 18, I thought, I've already read the book. You know, I don't need somebody to take me through the exercises. I didn't realize, you know, there's a lot more to it than just reading a book. As we do, you know.
Yeah.
we read a book and we go, well, that's done. It's like a checklist.
Yeah, find that out in life, yeah.
I read that book, so it's all good. You know, I've taken care of that, and I don't need to revisit it. But I sat down in front of my computer and I thought, there's something more that I'm supposed to be doing in my life, and I don't know what it is. And I think that turning point was where I just surrendered to the moment. I thought, what do I need to do? Life tell me what it is that I need to do. And I have no conscious explanation for why I typed in You Can Heal Your Life workshops, other than something in my brain remembered that they were available, and I thought, I just wonder if I can still do them. And so I looked, and I think I spent about 2 weeks looking to find if there was anybody in the Melbourne area that was doing workshops. Well, there was people that were trained and licensed, but they weren't offering programs. And so I saw that in a couple of months' time, there was an opening or an opportunity to go and do the teacher training to become a licensed workshop leader. So I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do at this point in time. Go do the training, learn a little bit about it, and then just make it work in my life. And so that was the only reason that I did it, was because I wanted to make things work in my life. And I did the training, and I thought, oh, this is awesome. You know, I had a friend that I told I was going to do the training, and she owned a metaphysical bookshop. And she said, well, I know a couple of friends who would love to do the workshop. So when you come back, would you be interested in going to run a workshop? I said, yeah, sure. That sounds good. Because then that way, you know, if we get at least 10 people booked in for that, then that pays for my training. It was kind of like let's do this and it'll equal that. And then she said, well, why don't we plan one for Townsville as well? And I'm like, well, I don't know anybody in Townsville. She goes, well, I do. So that was kind of how things started. I came home and I already had 2 workshops planned. Yep. And that kind of just kept rolling from one thing to another. And I remember a statement that Louise Hay had said about when she first wrote You Could Heal Your Life. She's like, I wrote the book. If I could just put this workshop down in writing, then so many more people would benefit from it. And had no idea that life was going to just explode it out. And I thought, that's a great idea, but, you know, you've got to work for things. And so when I started seeing that happen in my own life, I thought, you know what? There's truth in this. That when we're on the right path and we're doing the right thing, that's our calling. There's an ease to it. And it doesn't mean, you know, it feels good. It doesn't mean that we don't need to work at it and improve ourselves all the time. But it means that there's a sense of ease to it, a calmness underneath all of the surface of what's going on at the top. So that's kind of what brought me to the whole position of being Heal Your Life teacher trainer for Australia and New Zealand. It wasn't a planned route. It was just over time. You know, I've ran so many workshops, worked with thousands of people now, and none of it was conscious. It was a matter of, I'm doing this because this is what life is presenting for me. So when I say none of it was conscious, I mean I wasn't consciously aware that that's where life was directing me. It was one foot in front of the other and life directing me to where I needed to be. So that's pretty cool.
Whoa. Okay. A lot to unpack, and it's so crazy to hear it all as well. So thank you for sharing. So you never had a vision for that?
Never had the vision for that.
Yeah. So your vision from like 18 sort of, that was just...
It was purely to help other people.
Yeah.
You know, Doreen Virtue used to say when she was doing a lot of stuff from stage that when she would ask herself about what her life purpose was, she could see herself speaking, but didn't know what it was. And the same thing would happen to me. When I would ask, you know, what's my life purpose, I'd kind of see myself on stage, speaking to people, helping people heal.
Teaching.
Teaching, sharing. But the thing that always got in my way was like, I'm so young. Who's going to believe what's coming out of my mouth? And who am I anyway? I'm not Louise Hay. I'm not Wayne Dyer. I'm not Doreen Virtue. I'm not Dr. John DiMartini. I'm not Tony I'm not these people that we look at that we see as the greats. So why will people believe who I am? But the moment that we put that out of our mind and we stop that from getting in our way, one of my favourite sayings that I love is, if we'll only get out of our way enough, then life will take control. When we do that, life just steps in. So there's a surrendering that we need to allow to happen. And it's those moments where we lay on our bed and just go, I give up. I give up. Life, you just take care of this, because I'm so sick of trying to control it.
Yeah.
And each of those moments, if I go back through those points in my life, there's been a surrendering moment. And it's been, just let go. Stop trying to control it so much. You don't need to know how it's going to work out. You just need to show up and just be there for yourself in a way that nobody else can. And from there, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something you did touch on, and you did explain each point, because it's not just the it'll just happen. You were like, yeah, it still does require work. Like doing something and showing up daily. Yeah. You sit on the bed and you just go, just take over and do nothing about it and not show up. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, it's like meditating in your apartment for abundance to come, and you're expecting a helicopter to come over and just drop some cash into you. You know, FedEx is not going to turn up on your front door and give you what you need. There is a physical component to everything that we do, you know, and it's great to do the metaphysical stuff, but notice how the word metaphysical has physical in it. Yeah. So we need to do something. You know, if we want to move from one room to another, we physically have to stand up and walk there. We can't just think about being in that other room and then all of a sudden we're there. Yeah. So there is a physical component that we must take, but we also need to do the inner work as well. And when we do both, that's where the magic is. Yeah. You see people pushing so hard to make something happen in their life, and for so long they're spinning their wheels just working hard. And then they're like, well, this stuff doesn't work. But if you just relax a little bit, you stop focusing on the things that are not working and allow the things that are. Yeah. And it sounds easy, because it is, but it's also difficult to let go of our grip on trying to control life. So,
because we've been shown to do that, been programmed to do that. Yeah.
And you know, that's probably one of the biggest things of the whole schooling system, is that unless you do something, you won't get. Yep. And it's a little bit like us coming together right now in this moment, that it was divine right timing. But that's because we're both coming from a place of allowing that it even happened.
I wasn't, you know, I wasn't out there looking for this certain person. It was, I have spaces and I want to connect with incredible people.
And here it is. So
and then you liked a few posts.
And it is amazing. Like when you you let go enough. And when I talk about letting go, you know, the reason why I think fear and anxiety and stress is such a big thing now is because we're not trusting life. So when I was at that time, you know, going through that whole phase of almost being homeless, and then that other time where I'm working in a corporate environment where I'm feeling stressed all the time, it's because I was full of fear. So we give the word stress so much power and so much energy over us. You know, I'm so stressed out, or I'm so anxious, or I'm so worried about. It's just fear. And if we stop buying into it so much and just go, you know what, I'm safe. If I'm feeling anxious, what I really need to work on is feeling safe and being okay. It's that fight-flight response that's kicked in, and it's saying, get out of here. But that's where we want to go, okay, anxiety is happening in the same body that excitement is happening. What's the message that's getting mixed up here? And the message is that my focus is probably on the thing that's not supporting me. And we just want to look around our environment and find the things that are supporting us. So just a simple shift of the focus will completely change the whole situation.
So what about, you mentioned that when you were in those moments, those low moments, that what you were focusing on was not allowing, not surrendering. For people that are in that position right now, whether it's a situation in their life they don't want to be in, they're not at where they want to be, they might be at a rock bottom, what should they then be focusing on?
So it's probably easier to answer that question in two parts. So first, what are we focusing on? And then looking at what can we focus on. Because when you're in that situation, it can be very, very difficult to find something that you can even grab onto. So what are we focusing on generally is that we're looking at our bank account. We're checking it 3 or 4 times a day, you know, going, oh, is that money in there?
If I open it up 2 hours later, there might magically appear more numbers.
Maybe. Or we'll see that it's gone down slightly, and that'll give us another reason
more
to
anxiety,
be
yep,
anxious.
Yep.
So we've got to stop doing the thing that it is that we're doing that's causing us to feel the way we're feeling. And I know that kind of sounds a little metaphysical, and it is, but it's because we're constantly putting ourselves back into that place of not feeling good. So looking at our bank account and seeing that the numbers are lower than what we expect, or the magical numbers haven't turned up in there. We're finding the things in our relationships that are not working. You know, like I've been in relationships before where all I've done is constantly check their phone because I've been fearful that they're cheating on me.
You look for all the negatives.
You're looking for those things that are wrong.
Whatever you look for, you're going to find.
Absolutely. And even if they're not there, your mind will create it anyway. And you'll then go off at that person and they'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, are you crazy? Like, that is not even true. But even driving the car, you know, you'll find everybody that's cutting you off.
Yep.
You'll find people that are driving slowly. You'll find people that don't indicate when they turn. All of those things just seem to show up because our focus is on the things that are not working.
Yeah.
So we want to redirect our focus to the things that are working. And that's where it can feel trickier when we're trying to get out of a situation. And, you know, one of the things that I heard a lot was practice gratitude. Well, for me, and I don't know if you're the same, when you were a child, how is gratitude approached?
For me, it was just like, just be grateful for what you got.
Correct. It's an adult pointing their finger at us and saying, you need to be more grateful. So if we're practicing gratitude, there's a negativity that comes with it anyway.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a big revelation to me during that time when I had that self-realization. I didn't get it from outside myself. It was just like, why doesn't gratitude work for me? And one day I went, normally I was told, you need to be more grateful. And I was like, fuck that. What I want to work on is just feeling a little bit more thankful.
Yeah.
So what can I look around? And, you know, the teachers Abraham talk about a rampage of appreciation. And, you know, it's look around and find the things that you can appreciate. Well, I changed that to what can I find that I can just be thankful for?
Yep.
I'm thankful that I've got shoes to wear. I'm thankful that I've got clothes that I can put on. And if it's really hard to find anything to be thankful for, just be thankful for the fact that you can breathe. You know, that was probably my biggest thing. When I was having an anxiety attack and I'm shaking and my fingers were cold and, you know, I'm rugged up, but I'm still freezing cold on the inside, what can I be thankful for? I can just be thankful that I can wrap a blanket around myself. I can be thankful that I can take a warm shower, because there's some people, especially out there, that cannot take a warm shower. They can't even wash their clothes. And, you know, but they can still probably find things they can be grateful for. You know, I'm grateful for the fact that I could stand in that line and get a $20 Coles gift card, because that meant that I could eat something.
Yeah.
I could eat 2-minute noodles. Sure, it wasn't nutritious,
But it was something.
but it was something. Yeah. You know, so no matter where we're at, we can always find something to be thankful for and find something good about ourselves. It just depends on where we're at as to how easy that feels. You know, when we're having a great day and things feel good, it's so much easier to look around and find things to appreciate. But when things are not going well, that's when it can seem like the whole world is against us. So just find one thing. And then from that one thing, find one more thing and build on that. And then when you wake up in the morning, just thank you for this day. And being thankful is much easier than being grateful. And that's my belief on why people have been practicing gratitude journals for years and still not able to get, you know, they're doing things like what The Secret tells them to do, and they're still no closer to having that goal. First thing, rip up your vision board. Stop focusing on, you know, the whole thing, because while you're standing there thinking, I want this thing, we're also focusing on, I haven't got this thing. And just be thankful rather than looking around trying to be grateful, because it's bringing up that negativity from within. And it really is that simple. but it's practice.
Yeah. Oh, it's a muscle. Definitely. Like, I have a gratitude mastermind. So this is a great in way of like the first step is that being thankful. Like, don't make it something like, and people like to say, be grateful for the big things. I'm grateful that I have a car. I'm grateful that I have all these, which are great things to be grateful for. But go back to things on a cellular level. Like, if things weren't working within you, you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be functioning. My eyes wouldn't be seeing you. I wouldn't be smelling. I wouldn't be talking to you. They're the things in my meditations where I take people through. It's like, go to the most basic of things that not every single person, but that you have that's so valuable in your life. And it's not material. It's cellular, like things that you have been given just because you were born.
How can I break it down to the most basic, simplest of human things that I can be grateful for or thankful about? And that is, you just want that launching off place. Yeah. And once you've got the launching off place, then the rest of it will start to fill in. Of course I have a vision board now, but at the time when I ripped up my original vision board, I did it because I'd had it for about 2 years and none of it had happened. And the moment that I ripped it up, things started happening. And it's because I was holding on so much to the idea of that's what has to happen and that's the way that it has to happen. Yeah. Instead of going back to that, I was talking about allowing before, going back to allowing that to happen. And the moment that I ripped up the vision board was the moment that I kind of just said to the universe, just allow. Just allow.
It's quite similar to myself. I was telling you the story of how I got into the podcasting and how it's formed everything. The vision was similar, to speak on stages, to inspire, to impact people through what I do. I never knew it was retreats, events, workshops, speaking to people like yourself and DeMartini. So I didn't know that it was going to lead me into everything that I'm doing right now. But with starting with the podcast, I grew my skills in speaking. I connected with amazing people, which then led me to host and facilitate events, which then allowed me to speak. And now I'm being asked to speak on different stages at different events. So now I'm fulfilling that. But it was because I showed up. Yeah. I started with something. I definitely started with gratitude. That was something that changed everything for me, which then led me on that path of just surrendering to, if I keep trying to control it, it won't happen. There was more resistance when that was happening and more stress in my life. Yeah.
And you're looking at, well, what do I need to do? Or what's wrong in my life that I need to fix? Yeah. Rather than seeing, this is one of the big things that I talk about a lot, is actually just seeing yourself as being good enough now as you are. And then from there, letting that unfoldment happen. We think we've got to get to a certain point and then we'll be fixed. Like, I've got to get the car, I've got to get the house, I've got to have the good relationship, the good high-paying job. I've got to have these things. But the other funny thing that I've learned from all of that is when people get there, they're like, well, now what? Mm-hmm. And there's an emptiness that they feel. And I've been there too, and I'm sure you have as well. You get that thing that you think you want, and there's an emptiness to it because we're not feeling personally fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Because it's not...
We ticked all the boxes in terms of what it should look like.
But we're also taught to tick the boxes. Yeah. Like, we go to school, we get a good job, we buy a car, we buy a house, we get married, we have the relationship, we have the 2.5 children and a dog. and then, okay, now I've done all of that. What is there after
What is
that?
life now?
Yeah. Because nobody else has told us any boxes that we need to tick after that other than, well, now you're going to work for the next 40 years and then maybe one day you can retire. And then that's when you can travel. And that's when you can enjoy life. But there's a lot of people that retire that are not enjoying life because they're not planned for it, they haven't prepared for it. They just kind of thought that was going to be it. And you watch TV and that's the same thing they show you as well. That get the right super fund and you'll see your money increase on an escalator kind of thing. And it's like, life's still, I know plenty of people that have got to that stage of life and then they're kind of going, well now what? Like, do I leave my husband now? Or do I leave my wife? Or because they're not doing it for me anymore. So that's why it's really important, I believe, for us to do that inner work, to really learn to love and approve of ourselves. And when I talk about loving and approving of ourselves, I'm not talking about vanity or arrogance, because that's not loving ourselves, that's fear. You know, we're not being recognized or seen for who we are. But loving ourselves is really having a deep level of appreciation for the person that we are and treating ourselves really well. And one thing that is spoken about a lot, it's not just Louise now, but it's nearly all personal development programs have started to really focus on that. You know, love yourself. But it's still a matter of, what does that mean? And it means really just, no matter what's going on in our life, whether it's something bad or something good, just looking at ourselves and saying, I love you anyway. Like, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and you really looked into your own eyes and just looked into your own eyes for at least a couple of minutes? Most people can't last that long. We'll start holding our breath. We'll think, okay, can I walk away yet? What am I supposed to be looking at? Am I looking at the tip of my nose, or am I looking at my left eye or my right eye, or am I looking between my eyebrows? That wrinkle wasn't there, and then our mind starts drifting off. You know, that wrinkle wasn't there, or now I've got a bump here, or that pimple wasn't there yesterday, or, you know, and then it's bringing that focus back, and then looking into our own eyes and just going, yeah, okay, you know what? Maybe we can't love ourselves today fully and completely. Maybe we can just accept ourselves a little bit more. And then one step on top of that, and one step on top of that. And eventually we get to the point where we really do love and approve of ourselves, and it feels amazing. But it's like, just start with, like the whole gratitude thing, start with the smallest thing. What's one thing you like about yourself? And if you can't find one thing you like about yourself, start with one thing that you do that you like about yourself. So maybe one thing that you do in life that you do like about yourself. So maybe you're a good cook and you like to make one thing in particular. Appreciate that about yourself. Maybe you do a great job of making your bed. And maybe if you don't like making your bed and you leave it in a mess through the day, don't worry about that. Maybe you've got a thing for stationery and you love having your stationery all lined up in one colour or colour-coded. Appreciate that about yourself. You know, when we can find that one little thing, that's the same as with the gratitude. It's opening a door. And the universe is, they get it. And what we give out is what we get back. So when we find that one thing that we appreciate about ourselves instead of criticizing ourselves for, we'll start to find other things. And then, you know, we look around us and we start finding things in other people to start appreciating rather than criticizing of those other people. So that gentle unfolding is how we get to that point of loving ourselves and understanding what it really means.
I love it. I love it so much. Would you say you're living your purpose?
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing, like, life has led me to that purpose, rather than forcing it to make it happen. Just back off a little bit. If you're feeling like you need to make your purpose happen, just take a breath and go, you know what? I'm going to just let life take care of that. I'm going to do what feels good and what feels right for me right now in this moment. And that will lead me to my purpose. So that was, I'm going to do what feels right and feels good to me. And life will take care of the rest. And I think that bears repeating, because so often we think, I need to do, or I need to make, or I need to be in this place at this time. Like, I need to have my career sorted by this age. And then I need to be in a relationship by this age. And then I need to be doing this certain activity at this time. And that means I'm fulfilled. No, it just means we're still following that checklist in life. And if we could rip up that checklist, throw it in the bin and forget about it, then life will feel easier to begin with anyway.
There won't be that expectation.
Yeah, and we've surrendered. So, Life can be easy.
I like to look at it as if trying to push a tennis ball underwater. You keep pushing on it and not letting it just be on the surface and not float as in float with your life just wherever the water takes you, but when you keep pushing that stuff down and putting pressure and resistance, when it does pop up, it hits you in the face.
It's the same thing with our emotions too. We do those things with our emotions as well. And Abraham uses that same analogy of pulling it down and then letting it go and it'll just come back up.
Yep.
And that's even, unless we deal with the things that we need to deal with in life, they'll keep coming up to the surface as an opportunity for us to heal and deal with. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing that it's come back up again. Like, if you've pushed something to the side for a long time and it keeps coming back up and then you push it aside and then it keeps coming back, there's probably a lesson to learn in it. Or there's probably something to know, not necessarily something to do. And, if we've got a problem that keeps presenting itself to us, maybe we've done enough doing and now we need to know something instead. And that's probably one of the best lessons that I learned in life is that, when something is going on in our life, there's not something necessarily to do. There's something to know or to learn that I've not yet learned. And if we learn and we work on that and then it comes back up, I see this all the time. People say, I've dealt with that. I worked on it and now it's come back up. So I must have done it wrong. No, you're now doing it at a deeper level. Because how do you know you've really dealt with it unless it comes back around one more time for you to deal with, and you see how you deal with it differently, and then it resolves itself.
And a different result, yeah.
So, that's the thing. We beat ourselves up and we criticize ourselves so much because we think something has to be done in a certain particular way, and we're not doing it in that way, and something's gone wrong, rather than just going, okay, well, it's coming back up. Maybe I'm just doing it at a deeper level. Now I'm healing myself at a deeper level. And there's just something else to know. And not make a big catastrophe out of it and make a big problem out of things. Because when we make that catastrophe or we make that problem, remember life is always listening. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't say to us, oh no, that's a negative thought. Well, I'm not going to bring that into your life. It simply goes out from us and it comes back. So if we're then focusing on those things that are not going well, life will go, okay, because we're attractive by nature. So it will go, that's what you want more of. Yeah. Because whether it's positive visualization or negative visualization, it's visualization.
Yep.
And the universe hears it and brings it back to us.
Would this also come into, I love that, and would that also come into being specific on what you do want or desire?
Totally. So often we talk about the things that we don't want, and we forget to say the things that we do want. So that comes back to that whole thing of what we were talking about before. If somebody is in that position and start to look around for the things that you are thankful for and come from a level of appreciation and thankfulness, then life will start bringing those things to us. So a good example might be, I'm wanting to manifest more money.
Yep.
And all I do is I keep thinking, right, I've got to get more money. I've got to get more money. How am I going to get that? What am I going to do? How can I make more? How can I achieve more? How can I have more? The universe will hear that and say, oh, you want to keep having the feeling to have more because our emotions are stronger than the thoughts that we think. They're much more magnetic by nature. So if we can stop focusing on the fact that we need to have more, what if we could invite more and allow more? And a way of inviting and allowing more is to stop even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. People are like, but hang on, if I stop thinking about it and trying to manifest it, then how's the universe going to know what I want? Because the universe already knows what you need before you know you need it. But by focusing on the fact you don't have it and that you need more of it, you're sending the message out to the universe to send you back the idea, the thought, the feeling that you need more. So even when more money does come, you're still going to think it's not enough. So just don't even think about it. Find thoughts that make you feel good and focus on those.
Mm-hmm.
And then get yourself into a place where you feel good, that it doesn't matter whether you're earning more money or not. And then the universe will go, here's some more money. And you'll go, oh, wow, I got an extra $1,000 or $10. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's $10 or $1,000 or $1 million. Either way, it's still going to feel good.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to pay for something at the register and they go, oh, there's $10 off that today. You go, oh, like you're not going to say, oh no, can you add that extra $10 back on?
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing with our thought process when we're saying that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying, you know, that's not good enough. Now, as a child, when we heard that's not good enough, how did you feel?
Like I wasn't worthy.
Correct. So then when you say that to the universe goes, oh, that person feels like they're not worthy.
So I'm not going to give. Yeah.
The universe wants to give to you, but if our feelings are that we're not worthy or that we're not good enough or that we don't deserve, then the universe goes, oh, okay, that's what they want more of. But the trick is to not try and change that. You know, we get so wrapped up on the idea that, oh, I need to fix that feeling and not work and work on feeling as though that I am good enough. Just stop even trying. It's probably the best piece of advice that I could ever give. Stop trying to make anything happen and just focus on the things that are going well. Look around, be thankful for the things that you do have, and the universe will take care of the rest. Just let go a little bit.
So what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Relax. This question's asked a lot to a lot of people, and the answer always seems to be the same. Everything's going to be okay. And everything is okay. I heard a really good saying that, you know, it's not the end until it's over. And if I'm breathing, then it's still okay. So if I was to go back and talk to and see my 16-year-old self, I would say, you know what? I love you. I love you. I really, really love you. To the point where I actually started to believe that myself. And it's different because, you know, everything's going to be okay. It's kind of like saying, relax, it'll be fine, you know, blah, blah, blah. But what if we told the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 16-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old that still doesn't know how things are going to work out, I love you and I'm always here for you. Then there'd be a security that comes with that that's not going to come from everything's going to be okay. Because that's like saying your fear doesn't matter. Your fear isn't important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you meet with a friend and they go, don't worry, it'll be fine. You're like, well, fuck you, you're not listening to me.
Yeah. that you're saying my stuff isn't valid.
Yeah. You're invalidating me and my emotions are not important. But if you said, I love you and I'm always here for you and I really love you and anything you need, I'll be here for you, how different does that feel? There's a, okay, I can relax a little bit.
No matter what's happening, they're there.
Yeah. No matter what's happening, I'm always here for you. So it's a little bit more of a reparenting role than it is a fixing ourselves role.
Yeah. Or a validating role of saying, oh, yeah, that's happening, that's shit.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm still going to be here
and
for you.
And it's okay to acknowledge that negative things happen in our life, you know.
Yes. What do you mean? Isn't it all rainbows?
I wish.
I thought practicing gratitude meant everything was
I wish that, you know, we could bend over and the sun just shone. It doesn't happen like that. You know, stuff still happens because we live in a physical universe. We don't have control over everything. And it'd be pretty boring if everything was fabulous all the time. Because there'd be no contrast. And we came here to experience that contrast. And when we experience that contrast, then we get that learning experience that comes from it. That's the soul lesson that's in it. So, just love yourself, really. Love yourself, all parts of yourself.
I love it. You've answered like 8 questions in those answers that you've given, which is amazing. And again, I loved how you just flow flowed into those because it did cover a lot of those things. You know, if I was to ask, you know, how do people become more fulfilled? You've touched on that and all that, and I think there's so many valuable lessons in that people can take away. And one of the questions is, what could you teach people, or most impactful thing that people could take away? You know, you've given so much on that. And even with your story, like even for me, that is super inspiring to hear that, because I've been there many times where it was either stressing too much about what's happening, stressing about my future, stressing about money, trying to control everything. And at those times, I knew a lot of the things. I read You Can Heal Your Life. And because I was trying to control things, I wasn't even thinking about those processes or methods. But then when I started to allow, it's a whole new level of life that's come up. And not to say that things don't happen. We were just talking about
happen again.
I just got a fine before for being on my phone in the car. Am I grateful that happened? I'm grateful that I didn't hit someone.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I got pulled up on it before something bad happened. But I'm not grateful that I got a fine.
It's never fun.
No, but I'm grateful that they're doing their job and enforcing the law so that other people don't do this thing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, who's a perfect human anyway?
Yeah.
Nobody. And if we were perfect all the time, then, you know, we'd probably leave the planet because we don't need to be here for those lessons anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that because we are aware of the things that we're aware of and we have the knowledge that we have, that things don't come up in our life. It doesn't mean that I might not end up in those situations that I've been in the past. There's a real possibility that those things could happen again. And that's not a negative thing to say. It's a possibility that exists, but it doesn't mean I'll deal with them in the same way.
As you said, those things those situations, those challenges come up to see how you deal with them this time.
I believe we become more comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And when we can feel more uncomfortable, or when we can feel more comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, then security can slip in to that place.
Less stress, less anxiety, less fear.
And we'll deal with it differently. We won't deal with it better, because that's saying that how I dealt with it in the past wasn't good enough. We'll just deal with it differently. And there'll be a difference to the way that I deal with something now than what I would have 10 years ago, 5 years, even 2 years ago. I deal with things so differently now than what I would have maybe even a week ago. Yeah. So we can always be changing and improving and growing. Yeah.
What impact do you want to have on people, the community, and the world?
My impact that I really want to leave on people is that no matter what it is that you believe about yourself, it's only a thought. A thought can be changed, but you are worth loving. You're good enough, and you're worth loving as you are. Don't try to change in order to be partially acceptable to somebody else, because you'll change to be acceptable for them and then you'll still be unacceptable, because we can't change somebody else's perception or belief about us. All we can ever do is work on ourselves. So when we learn to love and approve and accept of ourselves exactly as we are, then we start to become loving and acceptable towards other people, and they will see us as being acceptable. So the work's never on anybody else or for anybody else. It's only for ourselves. So love yourself, accept yourself exactly as you are, and know that you are good enough no matter what is going on in your life. Be there for yourself. Really, really be there for yourself.
Powerful. I can't wait to chop this up into those little minute things and share that, 'cause that's one I'm going to replay so many times. What does it mean to be conscious?
I think what it means to be conscious is to just be aware. You know, it's not enlightenment. It's not being the most spiritual person in the room. Because when we're trying to be the most spiritual person in the room, we're taking that fear and we're thinking, I'm still not good enough because I need to be above everybody else. There's no above, there's no below. There is just what is. And being conscious just means, am I aware of my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions, and how they're impacting myself, my life, and those that are around me? And just, that's what I believe being consciously aware is.
I love it. Where can people connect with you, attend workshops, trainings, all of that, all your value?
Just jump onto damienmunro.com and all of the deets are there. Or do a simple Google search for Damien Munro and I'll pop up.
Yeah. Instagram, Damien Munro.
Instagram, Damien Munro Official. And the same for Facebook. YouTube is just simply Damien Munro.
Yeah. Amazing. And all those links will be in the show notes. I want to wrap this up by saying, acknowledging you for going through the journey you went through, for deciding to still be here, for deciding to show up for yourself in your life and do the work. Do the inner work, do the outer work as well. I think they're both important. But then step into a role where you wanted to share that with others, to help people heal their life, grow their life, develop their life to become the best versions of themselves. But as you were saying, even just very shortly ago, was to acknowledge that, you know, it's all within us, and that by you facilitating that, you're allowing people to be accepting of themselves, and you did the work first. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for your time and connecting and all of this and sharing so much of your story and your wisdom. I think it's incredible. I think we're going to have a lot of crazy conversations and catch-ups in the future, and so grateful that we did connect when we connected, and for all of this. So if this has stood out to you, triggered you, inspired you in any way, reach out to Damien, myself. We love connecting with people and answering to messages and DMs and all of that. Share it around, share it with someone that you think will benefit from this. The video will be on YouTube, so you can watch all of that. If you follow us both on Instagram, we'll have a lot coming out in terms of videos. But I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate Damien for your time and everything. And until next time, take care. Peace.
Stay beautiful.